squad. I would open with congratulating my former teammate, Champ Bailey, to the College Football Hall of Fame, which he's already kind of gotten the nomination and gotten into it. But we're going to recognize him, I guess, at halftime or sometime in the game.
But I'll get the word out.
During the game, I know he's going to get recognized, and he was also Georgia Florida Hall of Fame was there Saturday. But congrats to Champ, and what he's meant to our program and the way he represents University of Georgia is pretty awesome. So I'm happy for him. Then moving on to Tennessee, who's done a tremendous job. I got a lot of respect for Josh, always have. I knew him as a player and now as a coach. He was at Missouri for a few years early on and had a lot of success. And now moved to Tennessee and done a tremendous job. His entire staff, they've done an incredible job with all the work they've done. And our guys are excited and looking forward to a top matchup in Sanford Stadium. I know our fan base will be loud and proud. I want to challenge our fan base to be, everybody talks about the Notre Dame game, but we wanted to be louder than that. We wanted to be there earlier than that. We had some great matchups last year here at home, and I thought they really affected the game each time we had a big matchup. So we'll need them again and need them to be ready to go.
Coach, I just wondered if you guys found out whether Nolan did actually have a separated shoulder and if his availability has been determined yet this week.
His availability has not been determined. It does not look good for availability this week. It's a pec muscle, so it's one of those deals we've done an MRI on. We're still getting some opinions on it, but he's probably doubtful for this week.
Kirby, since Josh has gotten to Tennessee, they've been very good at scoring in the first quarter and getting off to good starts. What strikes you about what has allowed them to start games so strongly and just the importance of doing that on offense on Saturday?
Yeah, they go really fast. They get a lot of at-bats in terms of possessions, and they do start fast. And I think our team has done a really good job of growing and getting better throughout this year. And each week, including the off week, it's like I see marked improvement, and I really want to continue to do that. We're trending in the right direction in terms of getting better both offensively and defensively.
Just any quick injury updates or prognosis for AD Mitchell, Marius Mims, and Kendall Milton this week?
Not sure because I have not seen them practice. Kendall's still got the quad strain that's bothering him. AD has the ankle, and we took him on the trip and allowed him some more recovery time, so I'll find out more today with him. And then Mims has a slight MCL that we hope he's going to be able to go, but we haven't practiced, so it's hard to say.
I know for back when you guys would have to face a triple option every year, you kind of do stuff over the summer, maybe the bye week. Is this offense that different where you had to maybe do a little bit in the summer, do a little bit on the bye week to try and get ready because 1 week to do it's too much?
Yeah, we worked on them in the off season, but we work on a lot of opponents in the off season. We worked on them in the bye week, but we worked on 2 or 3 opponents in the bye week. It is a challenge to get ready for because they'll be the first to tell you they don't watch all of your tape because some of it they use, some of it they don't. They have some traditional formations and traditional plays, but a lot of theirs is very different. It's very unique, and they have a plan of attack based on how you're going to play them. It's not like they haven't seen. You're not going to trick them. You're not going to show them something they hadn't seen. You got to do what you do better than what they do, and they're really good at what they do.
Coach, obviously it was last year, but I'm curious. This Tennessee team has a Heisman level trophy quarterback. They've got some good wide receivers, kind of similar to what Alabama had last year. Do you take anything from a game like that last year, with a high-flying offense like that, going into a game like this?
No comparison in terms of the offenses. They're just completely different.
Coach, I believe Jalen got, 20 snaps the other day. I know both of them were on third down, had some on first leg. How did he look to you? How did he come out with feeling after the game, and what was your take on him?
He played probably better than I expected. When y'all asked me after the game, I didn't really know. I didn't know how much effect he had. He was in on run. He was in on pass. He executed well. He held the point. He didn't feel like it bothered him. So it's really about stamina and him being able to hold up and condition. And it's one thing he's been doing a lot of lately is conditioning when he hadn't been practicing. So we hope to have him in great shape, and hopefully he's he's able to go and be full speed.
Kirby, how did Chaz Chandler look in your film, and what were some of the other guys that might have picked up some snaps, no one out?
Well, Robert played, he played a little more number of snaps once, Nolan was injured. Chaz did a nice job coming in. It was great to get him back. Didn't know that he would have to play that much in that role. His hamstring's still been bothering him. It bothered him a little bit the other night after the game. So it's one of those that we're gonna see how he does today and see how he moves around. Looking to get Marvin, MJ, all those guys going. So nobody really played more because it was just Chaz and Robert.
Coach, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from Coach Dooley that you still carry with you leading this program?
You know, probably the way he carries himself, such a class man, just the humility is the biggest thing.
Kirby, Rodney Garner's been coaching in this league a long time, and this Tennessee defensive line's been really good, particularly against the run. What characteristics are you used to seeing with a line that Coach Garner has coached, and what do they do well at the stopping the run?
Toughness. You know, he's old school when it comes to striking people and playing with physical toughness. You know, when you're playing against one of his defensive lines, they're not gonna run from contact. They're not gonna shy from contact. They're not gonna back down from a challenge. And it's not because of what they're gonna do this week. It's because of the way he's molded them and the way he's coached them. You know, he coaches tough. He coaches hard, and he hadn't changed that with the changing generations of players. He's always done that. Even when I was a GA here, he was coaching them hard.
Kirby, I know comparison isn't perfect, but 2019 you played that LSU offense. Did you walk away from that just saying the best way to fight them is to have a good offense too, or were there some defensive tweaks that you felt also had to be undertaken?
Well, going back to that game, you know, it was tough because they had 5, 6 something first rounders. When you throw Jamar Chase in there and all the guys, they had the quarterback, they had all these first rounders in there. They were really talented. And they did a really good job executing. They did use some tempo. They didn't use, probably, it's not the same tree of coaching, you know. There were some things we learned from that have helped us in the future, and we've always kept them in our package of the 3 down, different looks they had. You know, we used 7 DBs in that game, used different looks, and you try to give them some confusion. But there's not a lot of similarities between the two offenses, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, obviously you work on conditioning every week, but with the way Tennessee's tempo is, how much of an extra emphasis do you have on that this week, knowing especially with the defensive side of the ball, you've got to be able to play multiple snaps and also shuttle in and out of the field quickly?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't get your players in shape in 1 week. If you're not in shape, then you did something wrong long before. So we've been building towards this week in terms of, since week 1, the conditioning level of our players has been a concern every week for me. It's one of the major concerns is, are you in good enough shape? Because if you're not, you can't make it up in 1 week. So it's one of those things we work really hard on. I don't know how much other teams condition in the country, but we do a lot because I think it's really important. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of games where we had to play a lot of snaps. So that goes back to, if you're not playing them in the game, you better get it done during the week. And you know, we've worked hard at it. We're gonna find out on Saturday we're in shape or not. I can promise you that, because they're gonna try to get a lot of snaps in.
What makes Tennessee's 4 receivers so explosive? Is it the ability to create separation successfully, or is it any other aspect?
Speed, space, scheme, talented arm. You know, you can have the best receivers in the world, and they get open all the time. If you don't have somebody that can get it to them, they got somebody that can protect them and get them to them. They do a good job of that. Again, that's the challenge for us this week.
Yeah, Kirby, when just from experience, when you have your defense facing an offense like this, like 2019 LSU, last year against Alabama, how do you see a defense kind of embrace that challenge when they're facing an offense that's so highly regarded and explosive in terms of the points they put on the board?
I don't know what you mean. How you see them embrace it? You see
Like
it
in
in
practice, do you see them kind of embrace the challenge of facing an offense that's so explosive?
Yes. I see them embrace the challenge every week.
Kirby, you mentioned Hendon Hooker. Just what really stands out in preparing for him, and maybe how far he's come even from facing him last year?
I just want another year experienced in the offense. You know, he's 1 step ahead of where he was. Think of the reps and the games he's played since the games last year. He's just as elusive. He's got just probably the same arm talent. Those two don't improve. It's his decision making and his processing, and the guys around him are playing better too. I mean, they're playing much better across the offensive line. They're running the ball. They got explosive playmakers that are playing better. So they've improved around him, and he's improved.
Coach, I think you said, and Stetson definitely said, what his best game Saturday against Tennessee. How do you, looking back on it, how do you think he performed on Saturday, and how do you feel like he's ready for this challenge on Saturday?
He'll get ready this week, and he did some really good things in the game. Some elite things he did in the game. He had some decisions that he wish he'd take back. And I don't know many quarterbacks that play games that you can't say that about. You're just trying to wipe those away, because in the game of college football, including Tennessee and every team in the country, they put a ton on the quarterback to make decisions, and we do the same with Stetson. So, he's not always going to make the right decision. We just got to make the right one more times.
Kirby, what are some of the big factors that go into making the call on fourth down, whether to go for it, especially when it's not the most favorable distance sometimes?
Just, tape study, how have they played those situations, how have we played those situations, what is our plan for those situations, what are our plays, what's the time and a half, what's the score, what's the momentum, what's our red zone defense, what's their red zone offense like. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and ultimately you got to make a decision and affect whatever happens afterwards and roll on. We're next play mentality. If we hadn't gotten it, then we'd have to go out there and stop them.
With this being only the third time in SEC football history that the top two teams from the AP poll have played against each other in the regular season, is this just another conference game, or do you prepare for this any differently? Any way different?
No, I don't. We don't prepare for it any differently based on rankings. If that's what you're asking. But rankings, I don't even know the rankings were what they were. I mean, it's a big game, right? Nothing about a number being in front of it. It would be a big game regardless, because both teams are in the East.
Coach, that being said, your team has been in this environment, this situation, a lot in recent years. Tennessee has not. Do you take that at all to be an advantage for you, in addition to being home?
I think the home helps. I think playing on the road is always a little different, but I don't know that. I mean, they played some big games this year. They played at Pitt. They played Alabama at home. They played some really good teams, and they played really well against them. So I don't think that the playing in the big games, every game, it's a big game, to be honest with you, in the SEC. So it's not like some guys go into it thinking of it differently. But I do think playing at home is important. It's certainly an advantage usually in our conference.
Yeah, obviously big game. Chris Smith has played in a lot of those, and he's made interceptions last year against Clemson and Alabama. What has sort of allowed him to elevate himself in those types of games and in those big moments?
Experience. He's one of the few guys back there that's got a lot of experience. I mean, when we look across our secondary, there's not guys that have a ton of experience outside of this season. Kiwi's got a little bit, but outside of that, Chris has played in a lot of football games, so that's allowed him to make some of the plays he's made.
Is there an update on Darius after that hit he took Saturday?
Yeah, he's dealing with a head injury and hopefully getting back, but we don't know when.
The tempo they play with, it feels like one of those weeks where your field generals got to do a lot of recognition even without being able to look to the sideline. How do you feel like, you talked about Chris Smith, guys like Jamon have grown into those roles of being able to recognize on the fly and kind of get guys lined up right? Yeah,
it's tremendously important every week, but it's even more important at the decision making and the process with which they go with pace. They've got multiple paces they use, and they can go as fast as anybody in the country. They practice it, they preach it, they do a really good job researching themselves and figuring out how they can go faster. And our job is to be able to match that tempo and match that conditioning level.
Coaching the Missouri and Florida games, you guys lost a turnover battle but still came out on top. But it seems like this is a game where you can't afford to give this team extra possessions. Is there an extra emphasis on protecting the football and creating turnovers this week?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. I don't know that there's an extra emphasis, because I would never say that we emphasize it one week more than another. You can't not emphasize turnovers, right? Like, that's the emphasis. That's what we start every practice with. That's what we hang our hat on. That's what we protect our program with, is the ball. So I can't say it's extra, but it's certainly important.
Any other questions? Raise your hand.
Well, ask you about non-bloodlock too. Did he get banged up on that?
Yeah, his back, he had a lower back spasm, but I think he's gonna be fine. He should be able to go today. He didn't play anymore after that when he landed on that fade ball, the interception.
Kirby, how do you feel about your secondary, given the unique challenges that this offense presents?
Excited to see them go compete. You know, I think they've gotten better each and every week. Drawn some depth in the secondary, playing some other guys. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I mean, they're going. One thing's for sure, they're going to get the cover. They're going to find out because there's no hiding anybody when you play these guys.
Got time for two more questions, anybody?
Coach, we obviously don't evaluate every play all the time. It's looked like, how do you feel like Keely Ringo's done this year? It seems like he struggled at times, and particularly in that one-on-one outside situation.
Well, when you play the position he plays, that's the only thing you do notice.
Yeah.
You know, you don't notice the 70, 80 other plays that he's in phase and he covers somebody and he does a nice job. He's done a good job this year. He's big, he's fast, he can press people. He didn't make a great play on that ball, but he made a really good play the next time they went over there and did it. And you know, you got to bat better than 50%, and he's done that most of the year. So it's one of those that, again, I don't think Keely's lacking in confidence. What he has ability-wise is a tool set that most guys wish they had.
Last question, anyone? All right, thank you.